Welcome to Boise State Signing Day 2023. Thank you guys for relocating with us to Jump. It's an exciting day to celebrate the young men that are coming into this program that are going to be a part of this family, and not only the young men but their families that are going to get to experience what it is to be a part of Boise State. We're extremely grateful for our entire staff, our coaches, our recruiting staff, our support staff. There's a lot of focus on the final month, I guess I would say, of recruiting here as we approach signing day, but there's a lot of work that goes into this from the beginning of the year. There's a lot of time that goes into investing into the people that we are looking to bring into this program, from a skill set, talent standpoint, from a personal standpoint, from an academic standpoint, from a family standpoint. We're about recruiting families. It takes a great amount of time to go through those evaluations all the way back from January of this year, February into spring, and creating a plan while also addressing the things that we believe we'll need to in terms of our roster. So our staff has done a tremendous job, and with that, we're excited to announce our 2023 recruiting class that is full of great young men who are extremely talented, who come from great families, that we're extremely excited to get here. 8 of them with the gray shirt Prince will be here in January. 9 of them with Prince. So that's an awesome opportunity to bring guys in mid-year. Bringing 8 guys in, 9 with Prince, gives us the opportunity to apply the plan of development throughout the course of the year. Gives us the winter and spring cycle into spring ball, and then obviously a full summer. So that is a big deal in the way recruiting works today. So we're extremely blessed, and again, happy to be able to have these young men join our program. We are able to recruit the state of California very strongly, like we have traditionally. We've also been able to recruit the state of Texas and Washington, Oregon, Arizona. We went all the way across the pond, to Germany. We're excited to get Max here and get him enrolled mid-year. We went to Colorado. We talked about, being able to find the right fit, and sometimes that's all the way across the United States and Florida. And finding Jackson, and Jackson is a young man that we'll talk about more as we go along here, that came to camp here and really shined, in terms of playing wide receiver. And one of the coolest things about that was it was awesome to see him and CJ work together in our summer football camp and see the dynamic they had in working together. And then, in the early signing day, we do have the opportunity to keep one of our own here in the state, with Carson, which is huge for us. And as we continue to build forward, we all know that this is the first signing day within the 23 class. We will continue to recruit. There are opportunities to continue to recruit as we work into the beginning of the new year into January, and we're excited to do that. When we set out to build this class, this game always starts up front. It starts at the line of scrimmage. So there's always an emphasis on recruiting guys that play at the line of scrimmage, whether that be O-linemen, D-linemen, tight ends, edge players, and find the premium of being able to find young men that not only have the talents and the skills, but that we can develop. Playing at the line of scrimmage requires a ton of development. You can't just walk in and play college football being a high school player unless there are specifics already in place, unless you have a great foundation, you have a frame, you have a work ethic, you have knowledge. It's easier for guys on the perimeter to come in and play college football given the nature of the game on the perimeter. But with that, we had a huge need. We all know in the secondary on defense, we are very fortunate to have great young men in this program for a long time, and for some of them it is time to graduate. They've got their degrees. Some of them will have the opportunity to go on and play in the NFL. So that being said, it was a huge emphasis for us in this recruiting class to be able to recruit the secondary and find, the right young men that will be able to thrive here. When we move to the offensive side of the ball, we are able to, number one, find a quarterback that has a great head on his shoulders, that comes from a great family, that is a mature young man and mature enough to know and understand what he wants in this life, what he wants in this next chapter of his life. A young man that has spent a lot of time here at Boise State already, and to see how he fits in here and how CJ is able to interact and dwell with what would be his future teammates has been exciting to see all the way from the spring, the summer, throughout the course of the season. He's a natural leader. His ability to engage and get to know people and build confidence in the people, that's what that position requires, on top of an unbelievable skill set and how you operate and play the game on the field. With that, we were able to recruit a running back that we feel will only help us continue to have the production that we saw here throughout the course of the season with what we have, with George and Ashton, and obviously we all know Taylor can do some things carrying the ball as well. But Breezy is going to be a great addition to our backfield. You talk about breakaway speed, the ability to make a one-cut move and finish a run. Whatever the distance is, he has those abilities. But it only for Breezy to do those things, we've got to continue to build our offensive front. So being able to, in the first signing day, sign 3 offensive linemen is a big deal for us. We will continue to invest, like we said, in our fronts. We love where the young men are that we recruited in last year's class. Some of those guys played this year. And again, as we spoke about, that's not easy to do in the fronts. Playing as a true freshman, as an offense and defensive lineman. And we obviously feel like the young men that are coming in here in this class will, through the proper development, hard work, commitment, and sacrifice, some of these young men will have the opportunity to do so. At the tight end position, we have guys that are graduating. We have upperclassmen, so we really wanted to be diligent in this area, and the tight end position is unique. Tight ends do a lot of different things. Tight ends split out. Tight ends are wide receivers. Tight ends are in-man line of scrimmage that's setting the point, on a particular run play, and you've got to be able to block D tackles, edge guys, linebackers. Tight ends have got to have the knowledge to line up outside, motion, move around, shift, and do all those things. So there are a lot of particulars that we look for at the tight end position, on top of a skill set, specs in terms of size, frame, weight, and all those things. As well as at the wide receiver position. We have 2 wide receivers that we signed in this class, 2 of which will enroll here mid-year if we count Prince in with that. But we're very excited. We're excited about the core group of guys coming back, not only at the wide receiver position, but to be able to add guys and into that room that builds that competitive spirit and allows us to do the things throughout the course of the year that we know and that we want to get done. Again, we are very excited about where we're at in this class, the additions that we get to add to this family, as much as we are excited about the talent that they're going to bring to Boise State at their specific positions. We're as much excited as we are about the young men that are going to come in here, the young men that are going to learn to grow to be leaders in this community, to be leaders at our university. And, as we go along with that, we're excited to have some fun doing it with these guys, because a lot of them, they've got unbelievable personalities, they've got unbelievable stories, and as they spend time here at Boise State, we look forward to Bronco Nation getting to know them more. With that, we'll take questions.
As you mentioned, you got your quarterback in this class. How much of a priority was it to get him locked up here in the early period so you're not going into the traditional period looking for one?
Yeah, at every position, right? And really, this signing day now, the early signing day, this is the main signing day for everybody. So it allows you to understand where we at in terms of our young talent coming in. Positionally, how are they going to add to our team that is coming back? It gives you a clear picture of where you're at, and also gives you additional time to address anything that you may need to from a depth standpoint. And the quarterback is the center of a recruiting class. It always is. The quarterback is the guy that drives the bus. The quarterback is the leader not only of the quarterback room, the offense, but the quarterback, when it's the right guy, is the leader of a team. And to find a person with a certain, foundation, values, characteristics, And on top of that, a skill set to be able to do the things that Coach Hamden wants to get done around here, then that's something. And to be able to get that done and to be able to keep this intact, you know, through the things we've been through this year, that shows the commitment right there. That shows a passion that CJ wants to be here and to be a part of this family and to help lead this family and grow. And here's a young man who's committed to working. He understands what competition looks like. He understands that there's going to be a lot of growth in front of him here, and he's excited to do those things.
You guys don't have much experience behind Taylor. Will you be in the market for a transfer quarterback in the next couple months?
You know what, depth is always a priority at all positions. So for us, as we work through, obviously getting Coach Hamden here and being able to sit down and not only look at the quarterback position, but we feel great, you know, with the guys we have in place. But yes, there are certain numbers on every roster. Our roster, you get 85. Every one of those 85 is specifically placed on a college roster in terms of how many numbers you want here, how many numbers we need here. And a lot of times, you know, at certain positions that's specific to the scheme you play. Do you use tight ends? Do you not use tight ends? Okay? Are you a multiple front team on defense? What type of players does that require? And then using those numbers to build a roster is a huge part of what we all collaboratively work to do over the course of the year.
You didn't have any decommits in this class. What does that say about the type of guys that everybody stuck with you?
You know what? Again, BJ, that goes into the process from the very beginning. There's certain things too that are going to tell us whether a guy is for us or not, even from the onset. And time is valuable. Time is valuable, and you only have so much time that we apply to the recruiting without taking away too much time from the players in our building. And so there are things early on in the recruiting process that can tell you whether a guy's for you or not. And then when we work to build those relationships, not only with the player himself, but with their families, we are invested in each other. We understand there's no fluff in recruiting at Boise State. What you see is what you get. And we are a staff and a program that are truly going to be invested into these young men, not only on the football field and their development from the standpoint of being blessed to have the opportunity to build on the foundation that their parents have already helped them lay for themselves, to help them achieve what is the ultimate goal, which is to get a college degree that will help them have future opportunities in their lives. And when we are all on the same page and we're on an understanding of what this looks like and what this commitment looks like, that's how you're able to achieve the things that we did today.
Are you able to list off the 8 guys who are enrolling early?
So enrolling early, Max will be making his way here shortly. He's got a long trip, okay? Titus will be enrolling early. Wyatt will be enrolling early. Chase, Jason, Amarion, Caden, and obviously our guy CJ.
Andy, going back to you guys get 22 guys today, and there were no surprises, and that seems like it's very rare in
Right.
college football recruiting these days. I know in the past you said that you haven't really casted a wide net. You identify and you go after the guys that you want. How does that help you guys pay attention to the level where one of these guys isn't lured away by potentially a different school or anything like that?
Well, I mean, I'm sure our recruiting department and our staff would tell you the net initially is pretty big, but a lot gets filtered out pretty quick. And again, we value the time we get to spend with the people in our building, the interactions in our building. Therefore, where we start, it gets dwindled down pretty quick on some specific things that we can go into some of those. We don't want to go into a lot of those. We don't want to give all those secrets away on how we do it. And there's people that do it like us as well. There are people. There's people that do it other ways. But specific for Boise State, if we're going to be the developmental program that we've always had, and we believe in creating relationships and finding the right people that have a certain skill set, that our plan fits here, that our brotherhood fits, then that's not going to be a huge population. And we're just very grateful that we've been able to come into, again, these young men's lives and their families, and some of them come from very far away. How you end up seeing an edge player, and it was really our coaches. To be honest with you, there's a story that goes into every recruitment. And how we connected with Max was unbelievable. We got information from a former coach that used to be here that saw him at a camp, and we watched him, went and saw him at the camp, He's over here visiting the States, and we saw everything we needed to see at that point from the standpoint of how he competed, number one, his ability, and obviously the potential there from the standpoint of him as a person and as a player.
You guys recruit very differently than a lot of other schools and really try and get to know kids and almost talk with them for maybe a couple weeks, couple months before you get an offer. Do you notice that kids are appreciative of that model when so many other schools go the opposite way and hand out 1 billion different offers?
If we are going to recruit and build relationships, then it's done the right way. You build those relationships, you find out who people are, and then we move forward. When we offer guys, it's typically we're not just going to offer the kid by himself. There's other things we do and make sure that the appropriate people are around that are going to be, that we've met, that are a part of his family, his circle, his coaching, his network of support, so to speak. Because again, it's not just recruiting the player, it's recruiting the people around him. So yes, it does. And that takes time, that takes investment. But when, again, if we're talking about building relationships and getting to understand who people are so that we can help them achieve their goals and dreams in life, in this chapter of their life, which is one of the biggest growth seasons of what will be their life from 18 to 22-year-old, 22 years old, we've all been there. We know what that looks like. If we're truly going to be able to do that, then we can't know them just on the surface level. We got to understand their families. We got to understand how they were raised. We got to ask their parents the real questions too. Like, my kids aren't angels. If my kids go away to college and they're lucky to play sports, like, I want their coaches to know, like, I think Peyton, she's gonna need to grow. Coach, can you help Peyton with this? Like, I'm just telling you right now. And that's what we want to know from the parents of the guys we're recruiting, so that we can help them as if they're our own.
And you guys played in the championship game. You had an early bowl game. There was like a 5-day window where it seemed like we saw a lot of you guys in a half dozen states or more. How are you guys? What were the challenges there for you guys with that short window, and how are you able to be effective in that short amount of time?
Well, the effectiveness comes from, again, Jason runs the logistics and strategic plan of how we're going to get that done in that window, and not necessarily knowing leading up. You plan for that window because that means that we played in the championship game. And then the logistics of how do you get to those places. I mean, there were times we were in 2 different states in one day. That's because we have unbelievable people that have the resources to get us to places like that and help us build this class. Otherwise, we can't do it, Jay. There's no way you can see these people. And I would love to tell you who that is right now, but I promise you I would not. So don't ask me who that is, because that was a number one. That was the handshake and the deal on it. That's how great of a man he is. He doesn't want any, he just wants to do right by Boise State and continue to help, which is awesome, because we can't get that done. We can't go sit in a house in Southern California on a Wednesday morning and by noon, sit in a house with a player and his parents, and then by Wednesday afternoon at noon, we're in Arizona, to see 2 more guys. And then pick up and move on to the next. And, typically it's, you fly late at night when you get done with a home visit, so your feet are on the ground where you need to be the next day. So some of these nights too, I mean, you're getting into wherever it is that you need to be for the next day, so you can maximize your time when the sun comes up. You might be getting there at 12:30, 1 o'clock in your first, appointment, your meeting, maybe at 7 a.m. But that's what those 5 days look like. That's why I say, unless you've been through it, and it's kind of hard to explain, but it's fun. It is fun. It is, trust me, by the 4th, 5th day, I was like, we're almost there, okay? But you can do it in 5 days, or you can draw that out to 2.5 weeks, too. Sometimes you don't get the choice in that. You just make the choice on how you're going to attack it.
You mentioned Carson. Did you consider him the #1 recruit prospect in the state? And what do you like about his game?
The advantage we have is to be able to see him in a camp, a padded camp, to be able to see him might compete, against the top players in this state at our camp, to be able to see him compete against players that are from outside of this state, that come from successful programs, and to see how he handles that, how he competed, and how he jumped right back up, you know, one-on-ones. No, I'm not just talking team periods, right? The one-on-ones are as huge as anything. To see how a guy's going to respond. And when we saw how he competed in one-on-ones against certain people, I mean, that our whole staff got fired up. It is not about how many stars or this, that, or another. When you can see it with your own eyes and know that's what we're looking for right there, he's right here in our own state, right down the freeway, and we can help build this class right around him. I mean, it's an awesome opportunity.
With the, you know, 6th-year COVID guys and the transfer portal and everything you're juggling with the roster management, what's when you're looking to get to 85 and you're trying to make it all fit, what's that numbers game like in that challenge this time of year?
There's no perfect equation on that. There really isn't. Because again, there's the human element of it. And things go into play that maybe you don't control. So again, there's a targeted number of guys at each position that we want to be at, and not just, you know, from, because it's a roster standpoint, but really that targeted number is predicated off of, what do we need to be at the practice the way we want to practice, to be able to get the things done through the course of a spring, a summer, a fall, that we know we need to get done. And it is, the game is changing, especially in recruiting and the different rules, and obviously the different rules within college football in relation to transferring and all those things that, you know, it's as much about is, you know, finding the right people as it is about numbers. And as we just spoke on, you've got to have certain numbers at certain positions, but that is ever evolving as well.
You mentioned, you know, the ever-changing landscape of college football, and you know, we saw it this year of some of your guys landing, you know, NIL deals. When you're sitting in the living room of a recruit, what do you tell them about, you know, the NIL possibilities at Boise State?
We don't really sell that, to be honest with you. There's opportunities here at Boise State, but again, we want people to want to come here and develop. And what comes with that, we've seen that our players have got opportunities. Are there going to be opportunities for these young men when they get here? I'm sure there will be, because right behind you guys there's glass windows with an unbelievable downtown that overlooks these mountains. There's organizations, corporations, and everywhere around here that want to support the young men that are in that program and now have the opportunity to do so. And more we see what ends up happening is, and we always say this, you know, the young men that represent themselves well take care of Boise. Boise's going to take care of them. And that's a fortunate thing for these young men to be able to, you know, on different scales. It's not like, you know, it's probably, you know, a misconception that people think like all college athletes are making all this money this day. That's not the reality of it. The reality of it is college athletes now have the opportunity to make more money, so that, you know, it's not like it was back in the day when we were playing the game and you were scraping by, you know, off your scholarship check to barely have enough to get food, and the programs weren't allowed to feed you the way you were. All these things are great for the game, okay? There's been a lot of additions to the game. The nutrition side, what we can, the amount of resources in terms of nutrition that we can give to our players now is totally different. But within the space of especially name, image, and likeness, it's all about how you handle it in a mature way in the organization of which you set it up. Again, we're a developmental program. So those who come into our program, develop and do things right, we've seen the opportunities that come to them, you know, in the different ways that looks. Some of, you know, might be, some of the guys got trucks. Some of the guys, you know, are able to do nutrition deals. Some of the guys, some of it's monetary. You know, what comes with that is a great responsibility of understanding too. Uncle Sam, when you hit a certain point there, is going to come, and there's a responsibility that comes with that. And that's on us. That's on us to make sure that our guys are educated too, because we want them to have these opportunities. But we're not in the business of walking into a household and just starting. That hasn't been Boise State. And again, there's things that we value way more than that, that the families and the young men that we recruit, they value as well.
When you sign a player as experienced as Titus, I would imagine you expect him to come in and play right away. Is he a guy that you can see coming in making an immediate impact?
Everybody on this board, we want to come in here and compete. and that's the approach we take. And as well as, you know, the guys that we look for that are a little bit older, you know, that have the experience of playing in games. Those guys understand too. In the recruiting process, like Titus is all about competition and coming in here, and he knows we got great young men coming back in our secondary, or some guys graduating and getting the opportunity to go on and play in the NFL. They are, but the ability to come in here, the number one deal is to be able to grow yourself into this environment, into this brotherhood. And part of that is when these young men come on campus, then getting to be around the players and see the fit for them and what that actually looks like. We have more conversations about that because then the rest will take care of itself. And that's a huge part, when you're recruiting older guys from other schools, is being on the same page of what it looks like to be a Boise State Bronco and to invest into our brotherhood and commit to that and the sacrifice that goes into that.
Andy, with CJ, he's a kid we could probably talk about for an hour, but specifically, he was the first commit of your class, and every other commit that we talked to over these last few months, they mentioned that CJ would be a guy that would reach out to them. To have a kid that was such an active recruiter, I think he said even the guys jokingly call him the big recruiter. To have the quarterback actively selling your program like that, how meaningful and impactful is that?
It's huge. I mean, there are so many things that we'll see about CJ in terms of who he is as a person. Again, he's a mature young man that has leadership qualities that I think a lot of people are going to admire. Is he a young man that needs to continue to develop and grow? Yeah. He's graduating from high school. Is this going to be a big jump, graduating mid-year at the quarterback position? Yes, but he is so competitive. He will jump in here, and I'm excited to see how he continues to grow himself as he moves forward. Again, what we are looking for at that position, not only in the guy we recruited in this class in terms of CJ, but in our program in general, it's the ability to lead oneself in a manner that is aligned with the greater good of our family. And then through that person is able to impact, again, not only the offense, but our whole team. A quarterback is the extension of the coaching staff. His ability to operate on the field, lead, put confidence, make things right when they're not, those are the things that are important when we're, either number one, developing a guy in our program, or we're looking to bring a guy into our program.
Andy, how much did Texas maybe help Texas with this? 6 players here, and obviously you guys had a strong presence on the field and in the building with Texas. Does that help? And in this case, did it help these kids knowing that they can come here and still have a lot of Texas around them?
That's a huge part. Texas has been typically, it's been a huge recruiting area for us, and it just so happened this year too. We got to play a bowl game in the area where we were recruiting a lot of the young men specific to Texas and the north side of Dallas, and that's not going to stop. First off, there is a tremendous coaching going on in Texas. There's tremendous young men. The values and the ethics that go into education and sports aligns with the things that we believe in here at Boise State. And for a lot of our people in our program, the opportunity to go and see now and be in the backyard of some of the young men that we were recruiting that we just signed, but also some of the guys on our team. There's people on our staff, whether it's support staff or players on our team, that get to go see, where some of their teammates are from. That was a cool experience in itself. But we will continue to recruit Texas heavily, again, because of the nature of the game there, how the kids are taught, and how they're developed as young